Hi, friends, and welcome to our midweek meditation. I'm Victor Kim. I'm the lead minister at Richmond Presbyterian Church. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Hajira Hussain. And Hajira is the executive director of the Richmond Food Bank. And I'm looking forward to my conversation with her. These videos, these midweek meditations, are now exploring conversations with organizations and agencies in and around Richmond, in particular, that are helping people that are vulnerable, people that are in need, and especially in this time of the pandemic. And as a church community, part of these videos are meant to equip us, inform us, and prepare us to be able to be engaged in going wide with the world. That's part of our motto. Our motto is to go deep with God and to go wide with the world. So these videos, these conversations are meant to engage us to go wide with the world, both when in-person activities can be resumed, but also even now in the midst of this pandemic, how do we support those who need our help? And how do we support and be involved with those organizations and agencies that are really, really good at helping? So that's what these videos are about. That's what these conversations are about. And again, I'm really, really delighted to welcome Hajira to our midweek meditation and this conversation. So welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thanks.
So as I said before, earlier, that you are the executive director of the Richmond Food Bank. And I'm just going to begin by asking you to tell us a little bit about who you are and how did you come to become the executive director of the Richmond Food Bank?
Long story. So my name is Hajira, and I am the executive director, as you mentioned, at the Richmond Food Bank Society. And I've been with the food bank for 8 years this week. Actually, April 15th, 2013 is when I started with the food bank.
Oh, so congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. I started with the food bank as a volunteer coordinator. And then after 4 years, when the position for the ED came up, I applied, and I've been the ED for the last 4 years. So it's a very humbling experience working at the food bank, and it's a very rewarding experience as well, because you feel like you're making a difference every single day of the life when you're helping people, and I think it's a great experience, just being in a position to be serving others. And also, like that's the service piece, but then the volunteers that we have here, it's an amazing group of people. We have about 250 volunteers here, or used to have pre-COVID, right. But now our volunteer base has decreased, but they all come with such compassion, such energy, and the sense of giving. It's just, we draw off of each other's energy. So it's a great place to work. So about me, I was born and raised in India, and I then moved to the States, and I lived in the States for 10 years. I earned my master's there, and then worked at a community hospital where I was responsible for I was working at the Health Information and Resource Center, and I was responsible for program analysis, event management. We used to do health education classes for the community, but mostly it was attended by a dedicated group of seniors. So that was one piece, and then and a lot of community outreach as well in that role. And then the Family Resource Center was where we were providing food vouchers to the new moms who delivered at the hospital and who had limited resources. So we would provide them with a food voucher to the nearest grocery store for them to purchase items for themselves as well as for the newborn. So I think that program followed me into this position when we moved to Canada 10 years ago. Again, that's another milestone. 2011 is when we moved to Canada, and we've made Richmond our home since then. I live in Richmond, and I have 2 kids, one in high school and one in elementary.
Hmm.
And,
you look a little young to be having a high schooler already, but I'll take your word for it. It must be the good living that keeps you young. You obviously, the work that you've done has always been sort of involved in helping and caring for those people that are in need, and maybe especially those who are sort of at the margins. Is there any particular reason you chose this sort of vocation, whether it's in hospitals or in other places? Is there any particular reason that has appealed to you in your life?
As I said, I grew up in India, and we lived in a joint family. So we lived with our grandparents. So my grandma had a very big heart. So anytime we had a panhandler come to our house, and they would go door to door asking for money, asking for food. So she would always send us with a rupee or 2 rupees for that person, and also with some food. So that she did on an ongoing basis, as well as she would also cook food and send it to the mosque for distribution. So food was always very, very like an important part of me growing up, and all of us. So the spirit of giving, the spirit of helping others was I think the seed was already planted, but I never imagined that I would be a food banker. Like growing up, never thought, oh yeah, I'll work at a food bank. But I think that's what followed me when I was working at the hospital. It's helping people.
Yeah.
And I loved that environment, like just walking in the hallway with nurses and with doctors, and they're busy healing people. So that was a very uplifting environment. So I think I thrive in an environment where you can make a difference. So I was
really
looking for that environment, and I found the food bank, I guess, or the food bank followed me. Or I think I was led to the food bank. I know we all have plans, but our plans are just that. The ultimate is whatever is planned for us, right? We are driven, or we are led to what's meant for us.
Mm-hmm. And certainly from my perspective as a person of faith, we believe that there is a divine hand that does open paths, open doors, guide us, encourages us. And as you said, I think there's a real tangible joy in being involved in something where you see sort of benefits quickly, right? I mean, I think a lot of us sometimes feel like we're toiling in jobs where we really don't see the outcomes, but it's great to be in a position at times where the outcome is so apparent. All right, like somebody leaves with more than they came in with. Somebody leaves with food to feed their family. Someone comes in and gets better, right? And those are really, really great reasons for joy. That's not to say that every job is like that. There are many of us who work at jobs where the outcome isn't as easy to see, but it is nevertheless as important. But it's wonderful sometimes to be in these really hands-on jobs, right? Where we leave at the end of the day feeling like, yeah, we've done a little bit of good in the world, and there's a lot there that sustains us, I'm sure.
Exactly. I'll give you an example. 2 years or a couple years ago, I registered a client. I happened to be at the front, and this person, he was a refugee from Egypt, and he moved to Canada with his family and 2 children. The other 2 children were still back home because they were over 18 and they weren't qualified, I guess. So he came in, and even though he was a mechanical engineer from Egypt, he had a tough time looking for a job or finding a job. He had no employment at that time. And he asked me, do we offer bus passes? And unfortunately, we do not offer bus passes. We don't have them. But I said, I may be, because he said, just traveling, just going around Richmond with 4 people just adds up. Like the bus fare adds up. And so he left, but then after that, I was sharing that information with one of my volunteers, and he said, like, oh, does he need a bike? I have a bike that, you know, I don't ride anymore. So connected my client with a bike, and you have a success story. So now he's able to, you know, seek employment. And again, like he continues to come to the food bank because even though he found a job, it's not in his line of work, right? It's a minimum wage job, and it's hard.
We recognize that one of the greatest needs in Richmond that isn't always recognized, because Richmond is, you know, is thought of as a very affluent place, but one of the greatest needs in Richmond is food security. Mm-hmm. I was talking with another person last week. She said the two biggest issues around poverty in Richmond are affordable housing and food security, right? And so tell me a little bit more about the work of the Richmond Food Bank. What exactly happens there? What can you access at the food bank? Who can access it? How does the process work?
Okay. So our mission is to provide food assistance, advocacy, and related support to community members in need. And we have been operating since 1983. Again, Richmond Presbyterian was one of the founding members. It was the Presbyterian Church and the Anglican Church members who started a food bank, and I think they helped about 20 families initially, and now we are serving close to 2,000 individuals from about 900 households every single month. Our operations, we offer grocery assistance Monday through Saturday, like 6 days a week, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we also have 2 offsite distribution, one in East Richmond and one in West Richmond. One is at a church, the Peace Mennonite Church, and the other one is on the corner of Francis and Number 1. And it is drive-through accessible. So you can it's in a parking lot, so people can just drive through and pick up their hamper and leave. So 3 different locations, and people can access food whenever, like once a week. That's the distribution. We are serving, as I said, a lot of people that come to us. About, I would say 30% are children, and about 17% are seniors. And
wow, 30% are children.
Mm-hmm. A lot of children, and then about 42% are single people. So people living by themselves or in a group home. So they are single people, and the rest are, again, either couples or families. So that's who we serve, a little bit of our demographics. And from our operations side, I think we have a lot of programs. So grocery distribution is our main program, where we provide non-perishable as well as perishable food. So non-perishable is your regular canned food items, right, like rice, noodles, pasta, cereal, peanut butter. You know, those are our items that we normally give out, and the perishable items will be items from dairy, from meat, like frozen meat, produce, like lots of fruits and vegetables. So when I started, it was the hampers were mostly non-perishable heavy, like it was a lot of packaged and canned food, but we are slowly moving towards a lot of fresh. So people, when you go grocery shopping, when you fill your grocery cart, it's mostly fresh stuff, right? It's the perishable items. So that's what we are aiming for, and our clients are super happy. They are able to get food for about 3 to 4 days worth of food. Okay. So that's the food, or the variety of food. How are we doing it? We do it through our volunteers. So volunteers, we have about 75 active volunteers, and and they help with distribution, they help with sorting, we have volunteer drivers who pick up donations from all the grocery stores and all our, like, whichever business has extra or surplus food, they'll pick up from there. And volunteers also help with registration, with hamper packing, because after March 2020, everything is pre-packed. So
Yes.
they do a lot of hampers. So there's hampers for produce, hampers for the non-perishable items. And each week, like the produce hampers especially, those are in plastic bags. So we are going through at least 1,000 plastic bags every single week. Mm. So if you have extra plastic bags, that's my, please, okay. That's one way of supporting the food bank.
Yeah, well, that's something that people probably wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah. But it's better to reuse plastic bags. So that, yeah. Other than the grocery distribution, the other program is the home delivery program, and our home delivery program saw a tri-fold increase since March 2020. A lot of people, especially as I mentioned, like seniors and people like families with little children, they were very anxious to leave their home and come to the food bank. So we started the we put them on the home delivery list, and because the numbers grew, we were very, very, it was lucky to have this group, a community group on Facebook. It's called Richmond Coming Together, and they stepped up and they offered us, volunteer drivers who took up our home deliveries for us. So that was a great partnership that happened last year, and they're still continuing with the home delivery. So we are delivering Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 3 days a week, to people who cannot come to the food bank, or to people who are either isolating or quarantining. Mm-hmm. The other program that we have is the school meal program. Although it's on before COVID, there were like 13 schools that we were having breakfast as well as lunch program at, but because of the restrictions that the schools have in place, we only have 3 schools currently that we are offering a snack program to. So we deliver snacks to these 3 schools, and these are high schools, and they have a specific class for at-risk youth. So it's easy to deliver to these schools. Other than the school meal program, then we have the Fresh Gardens and Growing program, which it's springtime, so we have restarted that program, and whatever we are growing, we are engaging with volunteers, and the food that we are able to grow, it comes back to the food bank.
Right.
So that's that's another program. And we also have a community partner program where we had 25 community partners or community organizations with who we shared our surplus food. During this time, I think it's about 10 community partners who are still having a food program in a limited fashion. So a lot of churches, and I know Presbyterian also, they took up the meals during the summer. So
we did meals last summer, and a lot of our food came from the food bank, and it was very, very helpful for us to be able to allow us to feed as many people as we could without overextending our own budget because of the donations from the food bank. So that was really gratefully received and made a big difference. And the meals that were prepared here were very, very, again, they were nutritious. Mm-hmm. And I think we often forget that people need fresh food, right? That's really important for their health. And that the non-perishables are good to have in terms of long-term, but really you need some fresh food on a regular basis. That was really important. Clearly the food bank is more than what people often think about as the food bank, right? Where you kind of show up and get some food and take it with you, but there's a lot of different programs that you've described, and it's more of a holistic understanding of how we help those in need around the whole issue of food scarcity. So I just really want to thank you for being involved in that whole spectrum of programs around food. How do people help? Like, you've already said there are volunteers. So if people want to volunteer, are there any specific things that you look for beyond physically volunteering at the food bank? And it may, of course, be very, very different these days than pre-pandemic and maybe post-pandemic. But so what do you look for in volunteers? Are there any sort of guidelines that you are wanting people to adhere to? And then beyond the volunteering, I think I know the answer, that the number one thing that all food banks need is money, because then that allows you to purchase what you need. Exactly. Versus what people want to give, which is good, but not always matches up with exactly what the needs are, right? So tell us a little bit about volunteering, and then tell us a little bit about how we can best help you. And if it's and please don't be shy about saying we need your money, because we know that is the truth. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we do need the money, but volunteers we also need. And to your question, what is the requirement for a volunteer? You have to be a minimum of 15 years of age. That's the minimum age that you can volunteer at. And then the other thing is you have to be physically able to lift up to 30 pounds. And I think the third thing is you have to have a willing heart to serve people. And somebody who's passionate about food security and food justice, that's a bonus.
Okay.
But you're right. Because of the pandemic, we had to reduce a lot of our volunteer base. A lot of our existing volunteers weren't able to volunteer as well because of pre-existing health conditions. But many are coming back, like slowly as they are getting the vaccine. They have resumed their volunteering with us. But in terms of need, I would say, like, we are looking for volunteer drivers. Okay. And anybody with a green thumb. So okay. If you would like to garden, that could be another way you'll be helping us, at the garden, just tending the garden. And we have 4 plots at Garrett Wellness Center, so okay. It'll help. So that's those are the 2 current needs, or volunteer needs.
So you need drivers, and you need people that might be interested in taking care of the gardens.
Yes.
And where did you say these gardens are at?
At the Garrett Wellness Center.
And where is that exactly? Do you know?
There's 2 in Blundell.
2 in Blundell. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about? Are there any restrictions about who can apply for assistance at the food bank? How does someone in need access the food bank? Do they just come during those hours and say, I need some help?
Anybody who lives in Richmond who has a need can come to the food bank and get assistance. So we have simplified the process. I mean, before people would come in and they would register and then they would pick up the food. But we found that it's the first call, or it's the first contact that's always hard. Mm-hmm. So we thought maybe if we have a form available on our website, maybe at least they'll have the information in, and then they can follow up, or we can follow up with them and say, by the way, we got your application. Would you like to come in and register? And these are our times. So that has helped. That has helped a lot to get over that initial hesitation. Yeah. To come to and access the program. But anybody in Richmond can access food assistance Monday through Saturday. Because of the pandemic, we have also expanded. We have also started offering food assistance to people who don't live in Richmond, who are maybe from Vancouver, because they search up food bank, and our food bank probably is closer to where they live. If they live in the Marpole area, so ours is probably closer. So we've made an exception for a lot of non-Richmond clients during the pandemic.
Have you found that has the need increased during the pandemic? Have you found?
Definitely. We had close to 49% increase in new registrations alone.
Wow.
So a lot of new registrations. There was one client who, like, single mom, two teenage girls, and she came in and very nicely dressed, and you know, because it's been like almost 8 years, I can tell the hesitation. I can tell who's a new client and who's been here, and they get accustomed, right?
Yes.
But so I walk up to her, and we get talking, and she's like, I'm so sorry I have to do this. I never thought that I will be standing here. I had a job and I got laid off, and I used up all my resources before making this decision to come here. So I hope I don't, I hope I don't see you again, but I do need you at this time. So I was like, that's what we are here for. That this is, it's okay to to get food here. That's what we do. And yeah. So.
Yeah, I think what you have shared is the reality for a lot of people, which is that I don't think we always understand who the clients at the food bank are. I think we often think, well, these people must be, homeless or living in abject poverty, but many times they're people that are working poor, and people for whom just something unpredictable, something unplanned has happened, and they just find themselves in that moment of need.
Yeah.
And to be able to have a resource like the food bank is so important. But as you say, there is still this stigma, I think, for a lot of people of shame, of having to go to the food bank. And I think we hopefully as a society will work through that and say that we need to be able to encourage people to say, first of all, if there is a need, no one's going to judge you. We're here to help. And everyone's context is different. And especially in light of this pandemic, all of us can find ourselves in a place which we never would have imagined, right? And because of nothing that we've done, but because circumstances around us have led to us being laid off, led to us, when you think about all the people in the food service industry, the hospitality industry, and many of the other industries that are related to the pandemic right now. And these people, I mean, they've done nothing, but the situation has unfortunately been what it is. And I'm grateful. Many of us are grateful for the work and the service of the food bank here in Richmond and throughout the Lower Mainland.
Yeah, and we are grateful for the community support that we have received all throughout last year. This pandemic has taught us a lot of good things, like what it means to be socially connected. Like you realize the importance of things when it's taken away from you. We've never, like, we would meet people, we would go out freely, and now we are like isolated. We cannot meet people as before. So now we value those social connections so much. So it's a good reminder, the importance that we are social beings, and we need that connection. We need it for our mental well-being. So it has, like, the pandemic has definitely taught us to be socially connected and to be caring, or to be to care for each other.
Yeah.
Loving thy neighbors.
So it is, in our scriptures, there's a passage that says, to whom much is given, much is expected. And of course, we all know the golden rule, right? Which is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that's something that can be shared across cultures, across traditions. Again, thank you for reminding us of our interconnectedness and how important it is for us to understand that we all, I mean, there is a commonness to all of us, right? I mean, it doesn't matter where we come from, what we look like. Under the surface, we're all the same, and we are all, from our perspective as people of faith, we are all creatures that are created in the image of our Maker, and are all worthy of respect and dignity and love. So I just want to kind of close and conclude with just a couple of things to sum up. Number one, you are still looking for volunteers to help out, both with some of the work at the food bank itself, but in particular for some delivery work and some work in the gardens. So people can contact the food bank and help out. You are always looking for financial support. Do you accept food donations as well, right?
We do. So if you have extra food that you would like to bring to the food bank, you can do so either directly to the food bank, or you can also take the food to your nearest grocery store, because most of the grocery stores do have a bin that is designated for the food bank, and our volunteers, they go every day pretty much, and then they pick up or they empty the bins.
Hajira, thanks for reminding us that Richmond Presbyterian Church was one of the first churches involved with setting up the Richmond Food Bank. And so to our parishioners who are listening, as we continue to go deep with God and wide with the world, this is just a reminder to say to you who are part of Richmond Presbyterian Church, this is who we are. And so I just want to encourage our folk to be involved, to do what we can in supporting the work of the Richmond Food Bank. I want to thank you for making time for us, Hajira. I want to bless you in the work that you're doing at the Richmond Food Bank. To you and to all of the volunteers and staff there, thank you very much for the good work that you're doing to help assist in providing care for those who are vulnerable and needy within our society. And we all look forward to a day when none of this would be necessary, right? Yeah. So thanks for joining us, and information about the food bank, some of the statistics from the food bank for over the past little while, plus contact information and how to find out more information will be at the end of this conversation. And again, just want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. It was an honor.